Hello, boys and girls, and welcome back. This is lesson 6 and 7, contour line drawing and cross hatching. First, we're going to talk about contour lines. Contour lines are often continuous, unbroken lines that describe the outside of an object. In this case, there's no shading, there's no color, it's just the outside of each shape, and it's very described. If you look, there's lots of bumps and curves describing the edges of his mane, his nose, and even the shoe. That's what we're going to be talking about. We're going to use our shoe and we're going to observe the contour lines. When you're doing a contour line drawing, you don't take your eyes off the subject. You try to keep your eyes on your object and continue to draw. You can definitely look down at your paper, but for the most part, you need to be looking at your object and really paying close attention to those ridges and bumps. You need to find the right shoe. A shoe that has some lines of interest is the best kind of shoe. This flip-flop is too boring, but it's also very challenging to draw the other side of the shoe because it's see-through. And a faux fur shoe, not a good idea. Lots of texture is not really friendly to contour line. So put your shoe in front of you and make sure you're following along with every bump. Make sure you're looking more at the shoe than your paper. Start with the outside of the shoe and work your way inside. Now right now it looks kind of funny because it looks like my shoe is skinny, but I'm actually following the lines that I saw that were connected from the outside to the inside. And you'll notice I make a lot of changes. It's not perfect. Keep going, don't give up. You can always go back and erase later, but I'm going to keep making my marks until I get the whole shoe down, and then I'll go back and make my changes. I want you to just focus on drawing the lines and not be so focused on what it looks like when it's finished, because in the end it will look like a shoe if you're following the contour lines. It doesn't have to look perfect. You'll see that mine is not exactly accurate proportions, but that's okay. I keep working at it until I feel comfortable with what I have. After I got the large shapes on my shoe, I went back and started to add some of the smaller, medium and smaller shapes, including the pattern that I saw on the shoe. When you have most of the details, but not all of them, you can start to erase and fix things here and there, and then maybe go back and change a couple of things, but don't overthink it. Now we're going to talk about cross hatching. This is lesson 7 or part 2, where we're going to be shading with parallel lines. The closer together, the darker the value. You can see here you can use cross hatching even to shade around an object. And in this drawing you can see how they use cross hatching to shade a shoe. The closer together the lines, the darker it is. You can get your shoe under a bright light. You can take a close look at where the shadows are. Some will be inside the shoe, some will be underneath. Even where the laces are, there'll be some dark shadows. And then if you'll notice, there's a color difference between my laces and my shoe itself. All right, so take a look really closely at those shadows. And then using one dark marker, you're going to start your cross hatching, creating parallel lines that are close together in the darkest areas and then are a little more further apart. Cross them by going the other way to make it a little darker in that area. Remember, this is where the darkest areas are, so I'm avoiding some of those light areas and just doing the negative spaces around the shoelaces, and also creating any shadows that I see. I wanted the inside of the shoe to be extra dark, so you'll see I go back and I add extra lines in there, still showing cross hatching, and I make sure I outline those areas with the dark blue. Don't forget there's also a shadow under the shoe. That's a really good way to make your shoe look 3D, is by creating a shadow directly underneath it. If you have a lighter color, like in this case I'm using a lighter blue, but I could use a light green or even a yellow, and I'm going to outline some of the areas that are lighter in color than the dark shadows. It's just so you can see my contour lines more clearly, but it doesn't make it too dark when I start to add water to do my marker painting. When I'm finished adding color to most parts, you can leave some white areas. Then I'm going to add water with a brush, and I'm painting very carefully. I'm doing the darkest areas first. Look at how it immediately makes it super dark in that area where that dark blue is. I just use water here to very lightly drag my shadow outward so that it gets lighter as it goes out. As you paint, you will have a small amount of paint still left over on your brush. So when you switch to lighter areas, make sure you wash your brush so that those areas can remain light and not dark. Paint very carefully in the small areas around any shoelaces or small details, using the very tippy tip of your brush to paint carefully. That's the end of our two-part contour line and cross-hatching demonstration. Don't forget to snap a picture of your work, and remember, this is an exercise. It does not have to look like a complete finished work of art. We're practicing. So show me a picture. Can't wait to see what you came up with, and I'll see you in our next Zoom.